A poor man was married to a beautiful woman. They were a happy couple, always loving each other. But there was one thing that could make them even happier: a rich, handsome neighbor who saw the poor man's beautiful wife and fell in love with her. Every day, when the woman's husband was working in the fields, the rich man went to the poor man's house and said, "You're a beautiful woman." He said to the poor man's wife, "Your clothes are old. Why doesn't your husband buy new, pretty clothes for you? I'm sure he doesn't love you. If he loved you, he would buy wonderful clothes for you. Why don't you divorce him and marry me? I will buy you beautiful new clothes, the best in the land. Then you will be the most beautiful woman in Ethiopia." At first, the woman didn't listen to the rich man. But he came to her house every day. Every day he said the same things. At last, she began to think, perhaps my neighbor is right. Why doesn't my husband buy beautiful new clothes for me? Perhaps he doesn't love me. That night, she said to her husband, "Look at me, my dear husband. My clothes are old and ugly. I want new ones, but please buy me some new clothes." Her husband smiled at her and said, "You don't need new clothes, my love. You are the most beautiful woman in the world to me." She was angry. "Don't you love me?" she asked. "Me," she said, "if you love me, buy me a new dress." Her husband loved his wife and wanted to please her. He had only a little money and needed a new plow, but he wanted his dear wife to be happy. So the next day, he went to the market and bought a new dress for his wife. He took it home to her, and she put it on. "Thank you, my dear husband," she cried. "Now I know that you love me. Oh, look at her. She's wearing her new dress. You see," she said to him, "my husband loves me very much. He bought me this beautiful new dress." The rich man shook his head. "But a good husband doesn't only give his wife new clothes," he said. "He gives her gold. Where's your gold necklace? Where are your gold rings? Why doesn't your husband give you those?" He opened a box and showed her some beautiful gold jewelry. "Look at these," he said. "Divorce your husband and marry me. I will give all these to you." The woman didn't listen to him. "Go away," she said. "I love my husband, and he loves me, and we are happy together." But the rich man came again every day. Every day he showed her the box of jewelry. At last, she began to think, perhaps the rich man is right. Why doesn't my husband buy gold for me? Doesn't he love me? One day, she didn't make a fire. She didn't cook a meal. Her husband came home. After a long day in the fields, he came home tired and hungry. His wife said, "There's no dinner for you tonight." He cried, "Darling, I love you more than anything. You are the most wonderful person in the world. Why don't you buy me some gold jewelry?" She replied, "When a man loves his wife, he gives her a gold necklace and rings for her fingers." He looked worried. "I spent money on her new clothes," he thought. "How can I find more gold? I'll go and see my brother. Perhaps he will lend me the money. I must buy gold for my dear wife. I want her to be happy." The next day, he went to visit his brother. "Lend me some money," he said. "I will work for you in your field." All right, his brother said. But you must work hard. There are many stones in my field. You must move them all away. Her husband agreed and took the money. He went to the market and bought some gold jewelry, which he took home to his wife. She was very happy to receive it. She put the necklace around her neck and the rings on her fingers. "Look at me," she said. "Am I not beautiful?" "You're very beautiful." Her husband said, "If you are happy, I am happy." She put her arms around his neck and thanked him. Thank you, my dear husband," she said. "Now I know that you love me." The next day, her husband went out very early, before the sun rose. In the sky, he ran to his brother's field, which was covered with stones. "I must work very hard," he thought. "I must start early and stop late. I must pay my debt to my brother." His wife was working happily at home. "I'll make a wonderful dinner for my husband tonight," she thought. "He gives me wonderful presents. He works hard for me. I know that he loves me." "Hello," a voice called out. "Are you there?" The woman went outside. Her rich neighbor was there. "Ah, it's you," she said. "Listen, neighbor," the woman said. "You were wrong about my husband yesterday. He bought me this beautiful jewelry. He loves me very much, and I love him. I will not divorce him. I will not marry you." The rich man was worried. He thought, her husband loves her too much. "I must be clever." At last, he said, "Your husband gave you clothes and jewelry, but I can give you more than that." "What do you mean?" the woman cried. "Can your husband make miracles?" The rich man asked, "Can miracles be made?" "No," the woman answered. "Only God can make miracles." "But I can," the man said. "Because I love you, love can make miracles." "If your husband loves you, he can make miracles for you," the woman replied. "And if you love me, I will make miracles for you." "Make a miracle for me now," the man said. "I can't," the woman answered. "You must promise to love me first. You must leave your wife and come with me." "I will make wonderful miracles for you," the woman said. "Nothing," the rich man replied. He left that night. The poor man came home late, tired and hungry. His wife brought him water, and he washed himself. She brought him delicious food, and he ate it. "My poor husband," she thought. "He works so hard for me. He is so tired and hungry. The rich man is foolish," she thought. "How can my husband make miracles? It's impossible." But the next day, and the day after that, the rich man came to her house again. "Did your husband make a miracle for you yesterday?" he asked. "He left me," the woman replied. "He left me for you." "I'm sorry," the rich man said. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," the woman said. "I know." After that, the rich man came to her house again. "Did your husband make a miracle for you yesterday?" he asked. "Leave him and love me, and I will make many, many miracles for you every day." At last, the woman began to listen to him. One day, when her husband came home, she was sad. "Wife, dear wife, what is wrong with you?" he cried. "Are you sick?" she said. "No," she replied. "I'm sad because you do not love me." "But you know," he said, "I love you. I bought you new clothes. I bought you gold jewelry. You're the most precious thing in the world to me. But you don't make miracles for me." Her poor husband was very surprised. "Miracles? I can't make miracles," he said. "Why do you want a miracle?" "Well, our neighbor came to see me today." The woman said, "Love makes miracles. If a man loves a woman, he will make miracles for her," he said. Her husband was really worried that the bad man wanted to take his wife. He thought all this trouble came from him. When he first came here, she wanted new clothes, then she wanted gold jewelry, and now she wants a miracle. What can I do if I don't make a miracle? Perhaps my wife will leave me and marry him the next day. He went slowly to work in his brother's field. He really needed to pray. He thought only God could help him now. He looked up to heaven. "Oh, please help me. Lord God," he prayed, "please help me to make a miracle." He loved his wife and he wanted to keep her. Please don't let this rich man take her from him. He worked all morning and then he sat down to rest under a tree in the middle of the day. A man was already sitting there. "Who are you?" the poor man asked. "I am a wizard," answered the man. "I have a gift for you." He looked around and found 2 sticks. "These sticks can make miracles," he said. "Miracles." The poor man said he was happy now. "What kind of miracles?" "If you touch a person with the first stick," the wizard said, "he will become a donkey." The poor man thought of the rich man and he smiled. "A donkey," he said, "that's very good. And if I touch him with the second stick, what will happen?" "He will become a man again," said the wizard. The poor man took the sticks and jumped up. "Oh, thank you, my friend," he said. "I prayed to God and now I can keep my wife and punish my enemy." He ran home, calling out to his wife, "Come here, I'm going to make a miracle." His wife came out of the house, amazed. "What miracle?" she asked. "I touched you with the first stick," he replied, "and you became a donkey." She lifted her head and tried to speak, but she could not hear. "Ha," she said, "ha" was all she could say. He touched her with the other stick, and she became a woman again. "Oh, it's wonderful. You've made her a woman again. How did you do it?" "I prayed to God, and He helped me. Now, wife, I am going to punish my enemy, your enemy. Ask your husband for new clothes," he said kindly. "Ask him for gold jewelry. Ask him for a miracle. Am I right? Did our rich neighbor give you all these ideas?" His wife said nothing, and did you listen to him? Her husband went on. Did you know that she didn't look at him? She was ashamed. "I'm sorry," she said. "It's true," he replied. "He said all those things. He wanted me to divorce you and marry him. I listened to him." "Do you want to divorce me and marry him?" he asked gently. She looked at him, her eyes brimming with tears. "No, dear husband, I want to stay with you forever, and I will never listen to him again." Then, she took the first stick and touched her husband with it. The rich man gave his wife the first stick, but he hid the second one under the roof. The next day, he went to work. Before long, the rich man arrived at the woman's house. "Can your husband make miracles yet?" she asked. "Yes," she replied, and she touched him with the second stick. At once, the rich man changed into a donkey, the woman told him. "You can go to work and help my dear husband." She took the donkey out to the fields, where her husband was working. "Ah," he said, "a donkey. I can finish the job quickly." From that day on, the poor man gave the donkey many heavy loads to carry. The donkey carried stones away from the fields and brought sacks of tea back. The donkey worked for the poor man for many years, helping him carry flour and coffee to the market. The poor man was not so poor now the donkey was helping him, he was becoming richer. One day, the poor man looked at the donkey. It was time for it to rest. It was tired and old. It stood still, its head bent down. The poor man was sorry for it. He went into his house and brought out the second stick. Then he touched the donkey with it at once. The rich man stood there, but he was not as handsome as he once was. His back was bent, and he was very, very tired. The poor man was no longer young. His back was bent, and he was very, very tired. "You tried to take my wife away from me," the poor man said. "That was wrong. Go home now. Don't look at other men's wives again." The rich man went away, and he never came back again. But the poor man and his wife lived happily together for many more years.